Welcome in, everybody, on this Sunday night. Glad that you are with me. My name is Michael Borky. This is Rebel Report Live, recapping a weekend that was an embarrassment, self-described embarrassment for the baseball team, and a commitment, a high school commitment, a big one, though, at the running back position for Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss football. We will talk about both of those things and whatever else comes up in the comments tonight on this edition of the podcast. Of course, the live recording of the podcast. Glad you guys are here. Don't forget, by the way, if you have not already, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you get them. If you're listening on the website, in the browser at supertalk.fm, we appreciate you visiting the website. But pull out your phone, your favorite podcast app, search Rebel Report, subscribe, leave a rating and a review. Also follow me on social media, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Michael Borky, Borkey. And let's get into it. So I decided to talk recruiting first to give you guys the good news before we dive into the self-described, as I said a second ago, the self-described embarrassment that was the baseball series at Swayze this weekend. So Kylan Deere, the number one running back in America, according to 24/7, although somebody helped me out with this. Number one or number two running back in the country, not a five-star. What? Anyway, doesn't matter. He is the number one running back in the country, according to Rivals. He's from Quitman, goes to Quitman High School. Huge pickup. And, you know, I'm going to kind of throw cold water on it, but you guys will understand what I'm saying here in a second. Big time pickup. It shows yet again that Ole Miss over the last few years has done a much better job, especially early, getting in early with the more high profile players in the state of Mississippi. Now, if you guys have listened to me long enough, you know that, I believe, and it seems like the Ole Miss coaches also agree with this, that you shouldn't just sign kids from Mississippi for the sake of signing them if you don't think they're good enough, especially in the portal era. Do not waste time and energy and resources signing them if you do not think that they are going to be a contributor for you. Loading up a high school class for or with people that are from a specific place is not the best strategy if you want to compete nationally. But the state does produce quality players, and it has some pretty good depth of quality players. If you look at per capita, Mississippi is one of the best talent-producing states in America, so there is a balance there, and there has been a greater emphasis, it seems, on high school recruiting in the state of Mississippi. You saw it in last year's class. Ole Miss dominated the top of the state of Mississippi last year. Don't know if it's going to go that way this year or not. We'll see. I mean, it is still March as of this recording, so, long way to go before these guys actually sign their letters of intent. But to lock down the nation's best running back in your own backyard is obviously noteworthy and just more momentum for that Ole Miss football program. Here's the cold water, and it's not anything other than just the state of college football today. I am far more interested, and I think it's far more important for them to get the running back right in this portal window. And, such as everything in college football these days. I mean, who knows if Kylan Deere is going to be at Ole Miss for 3 years. You hope he is. If the offense is going to continue to be run by Lane Kiffin, a running back would be stupid to leave. But we have seen that before. So ruling that out would be a little bit silly. And so generally speaking, I am a lot more interested in the guys that are going to impact the team of this coming season just because of all the crazy movement. So I'm not saying that this is not a high quality pickup, because it absolutely is. It 100% is. It's a big deal. Fans are excited, and they should be, because he's a quality player, and far more players stay than leave after 1 year. That's just we just pay attention to the ones that go and not the ones that stay. So I'm not even saying that. Anyway, point is, I am far more curious about who they add in the portal as opposed to high school recruiting, but that is just the nature of me. You should be excited about this. Really quality player. The efforts in the state of Mississippi are really paying off. I think it is abundantly clear that you see both with portal players flashback to Princely Umanmielen's comments last week, and then just the way they've had great success in the portal. And now with high school players, Ole Miss has a really solid reputation right now among players. It is a very easy place to commit to, if that makes sense. Yes, it requires a sales job, and yes, it requires negotiations. College football these days for portal players and high school players alike, but um, they continue to have great success with high-profile players that everybody wants. Well, what does that mean? That means Ole Miss is a place that high-profile players look at favorably. So, all very good signs with this commitment from a Kyle Deer. I do think it's funny. I don't know if you guys saw the clip floating around, but on Jared Ivey's podcast, where I mean they're talking about Henry Parrish as if he's already on the team. So I guess that's done. The players are talking about it as if that is done. But I am far more curious about what that looks like. If it's just Henry Parrish, if they add even another player in the portal. I have heard, and it's anecdotal. It's like grapevine stuff because getting direct information from this program is really hard to do. But I have heard that they are not particularly satisfied with the current state of the running back room. Just they really like the guys they have, but one's coming off of an injury, one's never played a meaningful snap, and one is very productive, but has had struggles staying healthy. They think that they need to do some upgrading there. Is what Captain Obvious, breaking news more at 11. They need another running back, possibly two. So I'm curious to see how they handle that in the spring window. Again, current players are talking about Henry Parrish as if that is done. So that would be a very good step in the right direction for 2024. So the running back position seemingly getting an upgrade for 24 and 25. So really good stuff there. We'll get to baseball as well after I tell you the podcast is brought to you by Priority One Bank. Let them make you their priority. They've got 16 locations here in Mississippi, so there's very likely one in your backyard like there is in my backyard. Priority One Bank makes you their priority with their online banking platform. It's a one-stop shop. You don't need multiple apps to manage your money like I needed to at my previous bank, because Priority One Bank every day makes me their priority. The podcast is also brought to you by Advantage Business Systems. Check them out online at absms.com. Advantage Business Systems has you covered for all of your office technology needs. If you are a Mississippi business and you need office technology, anything from copiers and printers and mail machines to cloud storage, data security, IT projects, phone systems, whatever it is, if it's tech, if it's in the office and your Mississippi business needs it, check them out online, absms.com. Tell them I sent you. You'll get a complimentary office technology assessment. Baseball. Embarrassed was the right word used after today's game, and that's absolutely what happened to Ole Miss this weekend. I did not see this coming at all. Did not see it coming like this, and especially because Kentucky, not a power-hitting team, and they just bludgeoned Ole Miss this weekend with the long ball. I think what you saw was I don't like throwing this word around. It's a big, heavy word, the Q word. But, man, it really felt like Saturday after the first two innings where Doyle got roughed up a little bit that this team quit. I don't know if that's actually true. I'm not in the dugout. I'm not in the locker room. I'm not on the team. I don't know. But today's play especially – but the last 3 days, but the last two for sure, looked like a team that was mentally checked out. And look, I know that we talked about their struggles earlier in the season, and this team had a lot of warts early in the season. And we talked about them, and they were concerning because it looked really bad. But, I mean, I don't think that you were wrong in thinking that things had calmed down and the ship was righted after – they win the Iowa series, and then they start stringing a bunch of wins together in a row, and then they beat a really good South Carolina team in two pretty gritty ways, right? That's what made this weekend so bizarre to me. Not bizarre is not the right word, but we saw a team that overcame adversity to win games against a really good team in South Carolina, for example. We saw a team in game 2 in Knoxville overcome shooting themselves in the foot, but overcoming a difficult situation and battling back and winning a game there as well. So if you were buying back in, you weren't crazy for doing that. They showed signs of improvement a lot over the last few weeks going into Knoxville. And even the Saturday in Knoxville gave you a little bit of something there, right? That they battled back and pretty mentally tough there. So you weren't crazy. If you were, uh, I've seen some people do I always like they were always bad. Everybody was crazy to think that this team had turned a corner. No, you are using what just happened to benefit an argument that you didn't make 2 weeks ago. This team looked really good 2 weeks ago. Really, really good. Postseason good. Capable. Good. And then they've gotten run ruled three times in 2 weekends, I should say. They completely and totally, forgive the language. This is just the only way I can describe it adequately. So please, again, forgive my language. They pissed away the game on Friday night. I mean, just absolutely just routine stuff that they could not do. Um, and because of that, they lost a game. I mean, imagine if they just played decent, not even good, just decent defense behind Maddox on Friday night. They win, and maybe things look different in games 2 and 3, although they appeared to be really overmatched. But that the whole psyche of a series changes if they just play decent defense behind what was a really good pitching effort on Friday night. But they did little things poorly. It's not just catcher. I know catcher was a big problem, big problem on Friday. What was it? 3 pass balls that led to runs. But they are bad in the infield. They are they don't make routine plays at first base right now. They are not good defensively at shortstop right now. Pretty poor defensively at shortstop at the moment. That they and it's not just those three guys either. They have at periods of times the outfield's much better than the infield, I think, defensively. But on the infield, generally speaking, they are horrendous for what an SEC team, a program of what this program's caliber should be. They are horrendous for that standard, and it's cost them games this season, and it definitely cost them on Friday night. And then the last 2 days, it looked like they weren't in it. Looked like they just kind of quit. Um, Shot themselves in the foot for 3 days and forgive my language. It's the only way I can describe it. They got their asses kicked. So it's gut check time for the team. It's gut check time for the program with Arkansas on the horizon, probably the best team in the SEC, one of the best teams, if not the best team in the country. They've got to figure things out fast, and it just doesn't feel like that is that is on the horizon. But we will see. 2 weeks ago, they looked totally different, I think, than they did this past weekend. But the errors, the walks, the self-inflicted wounds are that of a bad high school team, and they are too talented to play baseball the way they do right now. So there's a lot riding on these next few weeks. I'm not going to get into the fire the coach conversation until that becomes a more. I know fans want to do that, but that is not, as of this moment, a realistic conversation. There is still a lot of season to go for 1 and 2. I mean, there's a lot of money tied up in the contract. So until that conversation becomes worth having, we're not going to have it. But I don't blame you if that's what you're commenting, and we'll get to those in a second. I don't blame you if that's what you're talking to your friends about or getting on your message boards about, because it really does feel like this weekend was. You can't look at this season just as this season, because we've got 6-24 in the rear view as well to consider when having these conversations about this program. And man, right now, you had great crowds this weekend for sure, but it looks like the fan base is starting to turn in mass. It's gut check time, but that Q word, man, I hate to use it, but it looked like a team that had quit this weekend. We'll see if they can recover. We'll get to your comments now. Thank you guys for being here. I know that the Final Four was today. That's exciting. NC State, a team from the ACC being a Cinderella, doesn't really sit right with me, but they most definitely are. Hey, remember when Ole Miss beat them by 20 points this season? You guys remember that when that happened? When Ole Miss beat them by 20 points this season? Whew. Anyway. First comment, well, I expected better baseball. So did I. Deere is a massive pickup for Ole Miss. You say pretty ironic. It comes the day after a Mississippi State coach tweeted about how Ole Miss shouldn't get the best in Mississippi. Yeah, I saw that tweet. I did. And I'm freezing here because I don't know how far I want to. I think that Ole Miss is being received much better within the state of Mississippi than they ever have since I moved here. So I don't know what it was like pre-2010, but I think that the reception that Ole Miss receives, the way that Ole Miss is looked at within the state of Mississippi is different now. And I think in part it's because the reasons why people go to schools now has changed. It is you don't have this dirty underbelly of recruiting going on, and the influence on players is different, and all you have to be is organized and well funded and attractive and winning. You know, the things that steer kids to schools are not what they used to be, and I think that's changing the dynamic within recruiting nationally, and I think that is changing the dynamic of recruiting within the state of Mississippi. And the old way isn't the way anymore. Okay, now for the fun stuff. Ole Miss baseball since 2022 is 23-46 in conference play, 10-25 at Swayze Field. He will not be fired, but the Bianco question might have to be one that is asked now. 10-25 looks. I mean, you've known it's bad. It's amazing, right? Like what we talked about on Thursday. When you know something versus when you see it, it's like when you read a description and then see a video, right? It's like that. You know, although kind of in the opposite, because you've watched Ole Miss struggle at home in conference play over the last 2 years. You've seen it. But when you see 10-25 written out like that, it really hammers home how unacceptable they have been over the last year and a half. 10-25 at that place is unbelievable. Hotty toddy from Pascagoula. Glad to see you, Jerry. Glad to see you. I was down at the coast a couple weeks ago. I just love it down there. Just absolutely love the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Although someone's going to have to help me out with why they built the highway beachfront instead of have beachfront property and the highway in between. You know what I mean? Like they put the highway on the beach as opposed to put property all along the beach and the highway behind that property. I don't know. Still love it down there. Last week you said you wouldn't panic about the baseball team. Now you're hitting the button. It is, yeah, I think hitting the button right now is fair, especially with who they've got coming up. If they don't win a game in Fayetteville, then you're staring down the barrel of missing Hoover again. Ole Miss is dead last in the SEC in every fielding category and let the worst hitting team in the conference destroy them. 9 errors in the first 2 games. And it's 9 errors in pass balls and walks. But it's routine stuff. That's what's so – I mean, you can't catch routine stuff at first base. Your shortstop can't make routine throws over to first base. It's that kind of it's the routine stuff. They are bad at the easy things, and they are paid way too much, by the way. And this is where I think the way that people like me should approach our job has changed, because they're just college kids, to me, falls flat now. They're paid professionals. I don't know what all of you guys make in here, but I'm willing to bet that there are guys on the Ole Miss baseball team that make considerably more money than you. So I think the dynamic of the way that you can talk about them has changed when they're getting paid what they do. They're too talented to be as bad as they are, and quite frankly, they're professionals now, and I think that should come with a level of critique that makes it worse than it is. If this was 20 years ago and they were just college kids working hard on 25% scholarship, sure. But now they're drawing salaries, paid pros. It's a little bit different when you can't make a throw over to first base, or when you can't catch the ball at first base, right? You can excuse a freshman catcher making a transition. Now, it's still really bad there. And I can't believe that there is a Mike Bianco coach team that's as bad a catcher as they are. I mean, that's been a staple of his programs. He's had great elite catchers year after year after year. Names changed, but the productivity and ability has been the same. This is kind of shocking that he's got no options really. Although maybe Lions should get some run, but you could excuse that a little bit. But the other stuff, no, you can't. Feels like things are spiraling out of control, and it's not going to stop. Look at the schedule. We all know what Arkansas and Mississippi State are about to do to them. Yeah, and State, looks, I know State lost 2 of 3 this weekend, but they had a lead in the 9th in all 3 games at Florida. They've turned around. Are they great? No, but they're playing with more confidence. The lineup is good. Good enough. There's still some holes in that lineup, but the top of the lineup has some all SEC guys in it. They're pitching it better. They're getting better, and they're getting better. So that series is different now. Went to your first ever Ole Miss baseball game in person last Friday. Don't worry, guys. I'm not planning on going to another one for the rest of the season. I hope you at least had fun, though. I hope you at least had fun. They did the Q word today, Mike. It was so obvious. Yeah. That was a team that didn't care to be there. And I think that the way that they performed should be scrutinized more. And you guys have heard me talk about this before with football. It's different with football than it is baseball because the dollar amounts are significantly higher. The basketball team for Ole Miss next basketball team is going to be an expensive one. They should be met with more scrutiny than, and this applies to every major college athletic program now. Every football team that plays in the Big Ten or the SEC at this point. Every basketball team at this point, for the most part. There's few exceptions. And there's some baseball players that also fall into that category where the way they perform should be looked at differently. Unless we see a big turnaround in the next 2 weeks, the season is over for Ole Miss. Checking my considerable bias at the door, it really does feel Ole Miss football is on the precipice of finally taking the step from being a really good program to a perennial top 10 to 15 program. Sorry, there's a bug that will not. Got him. Jeez, man. Anyway, sorry. I got it. It was driving me nuts. No, Adam, I think that you're onto something. We talked about it a little bit on Thursday, but we'll spend all offseason on it. I mean, this is such a critical year for Ole Miss football because all of the pieces are there. Everything is there for them to take that step. The coach is there, the right coach is there, the right defensive coordinator is there. It feels like the staff is really good. The roster is there, the quarterback is there, the fan support, the NIL, the administrator, like everything is. Again, I moved here in 2010. Ole Miss has never been anywhere close to being in this great of shape from top to bottom in the football program. Never close, and maybe ever, at least since my dad was born in 1962 or 61. This they are poised to take that step. Now they've got to coach and win these games. So there's a ton of pressure on Lane Kiffin. There's a ton of pressure on Jackson Dart and Pete Golding and Charlie Weiss Jr. and the team to perform, but they are in the position to actually do that. Yes, they are. The roster is there. Everything is there. The schedule is there for them to take that step forward. This is the biggest season of Ole Miss football since I moved here in the fall of 2010. There's no doubt. And probably ever, but definitely since then, especially with the expanded playoff, um, the time is now for Ole Miss football. The time is now because everything is there for them to take it. You think they're already a top 15 program with what they've done since Kiffin has gotten there? Over the last 3 seasons, yeah. Mhm. Yep. And anything that happened before 2020 is not worth discussing. It's just not. The game has changed so much as you guys hear from me all the time. Yes, Ole Miss is a top 15 program already, but they have yet to make the playoff, and this season is expanded, so that changes things. But yes, now it's time for them to show that they have arrived at the top. You know what I mean? There's a big difference between number 15 and number 4. You know what I mean? Big difference. So they're a top 15 program right now. Can they make that step up to championship contender, from playoff contender to championship contender? Can they do that? We'll see. If baseball spirals like last season, they cannot fire Bianco in June, but man, the program is in a really bad spot right now. Yeah. Still trying to count all the errors on the weekend. Let's see. I got 10 fingers and 10 toes. Is that enough? Ooh, very, very ugly baseball. The proverbial dam was punctured severely on Friday and broken on Saturday. Yeah, I really think that Friday broke them. Friday, yeah, the way you laid that out was perfect. Friday allowed for the dam to break in the 3rd inning on Saturday. Yeah, 100% agree. They really did. You remember being at the LSU game this season where we were getting absolutely torched defensively, coming off of a game with Alabama where they were dominated in every facet, when the refs awarded LSU the touchdown to go up 2 possessions. This team could have gone one of 2 ways, folding like a cheap suit or getting their stuff together. The rest we know. That drive, honestly, it was a 3rd and 10. I remember this. At least I think I'm doing a good job of remembering this. Ole Miss was down 9 with, what was it, just under 7 minutes to go, facing a 3rd and 10, and Jackson Dart hit Trey Harris for a first down. That play, it's crazy because so much happened after that. But let's pretend that ball falls incomplete. What conversation are we having about this team right now? That one play. If Jackson Dart does not hit Trey Harris for a first down on that 3rd and 10, down 9, midway through the 4th quarter, if that ball falls incomplete and they're forced to punt and they lose the game, what are we talking about today? What are we talking about? Who's on the team? You know what I mean? It's crazy, but they got it done. They got it done. Good news is football is only like 5 months away. Yeah, they're practicing right now, so you're getting some pictures and stuff like that. So, that's good. The Masters is in Masters week is a week away. So there's that. Matt Corral looked good, although Skip Holtz pulling him after like 2 series is whatever. There's a reason why Skip Holtz is coaching in the UFL. But there's some other stuff to keep you occupied. The NBA playoffs, the Pelicans, knock on wood, look like they are going to make the playoffs, hopefully. Need to win tomorrow to kind of keep that separation, but there's some other stuff. Feels like the fan base is 2 weeks away from completely turning on baseball. It's a shame. is losing the Mississippi State series. You're right, losing the state series, and it's done. What is the next step for Ole Miss baseball? Because something has to happen. I mean, we have to see how the season closes first. If they somehow only win 6, 7, 8 conference games again, then I don't know. I mean, the simple answer is probably force staff changes, force a pitching coach, things like that. Force a program restructure. That might be what they do. Um, I don't know if it's in the cards right now to pay a $4 million buyout to a baseball coach when they're doing everything they're doing in football and men's basketball. Because there's a lot of money right now into both. I don't know. Didn't they have a top 5 transfer portal class too? I think number 7 according to D1. I think number 7, I believe. Could be wrong. But yeah, all that NIL to baseball for another potential flop going to really piss some people off. There was a lot of money spent on this baseball team. A lot of money. And they are not, to this point, living up to what they're paid. And this is what makes the dynamic in college sports so different, because when the Saints are bad, right? I didn't pay for them. Yeah, I bought a couple shirts on Fanatics for $1 billion and the quality is garbage, but I'm not paying their salary. The NFL is, the Saints are, the organization is, right? There are people that go to every Ole Miss baseball game that directly contributed to the pay of the players on the field, that paid the players on the field. You going to go back into that well and get them to do it again? It's easy to raise money for NIL in football because Lane Kiffin has taken the portal players and made them good, right? He's winning with them. So it's easy to raise money off the back of, hey, I brought in Jackson Dart and look at what he is. Hey, I brought in Trey Harris and look at what he is. So donate more money so I can get Juice Wells and look at what he will be. You know what I mean? So it's easy to sell that. It's still currently easy for Chris Beard to sell that because it was 1 year the team improved significantly, although they faltered at the end, but they improved. And he can say, hey, you want to go to the national championship game? You want to go to the Final Four? I've been there. I'll take you there. Donate money, right? It's easy for him to sell still at this moment. But if a portal class this expensive flops the way it does, maybe the people are so diehard into it that they will buy back in. But if you don't see dramatic change, can you dip back into that well? I don't know the answer to that. I'm just thinking out loud, but that is something that needs to be discussed is, can you dip back into that well? We'll see if they can. You feel like that was hands down the most important moment of Kiffin's career at Ole Miss? Absolutely. That and turning Auburn down, but for two different reasons. You're an Ole Miss student and fan, but at the same time, as a journalism major, you aspire to be an unbiased observer, and going to Swayze is downright miserable for the last 3 years. It's pathetic. Yeah. Tony Vitello. Tennessee's really investing in baseball right now. They've been pathetic since Omaha. It's more than past due for a change. You know, LSU is 2-7, but if you watch them, they are way better than Ole Miss. Resources are being wasted all over the place. Need someone that will hire a pitching coach. And that's kind of what I was getting at earlier is you may, after this season, if you can't pay a full buyout, you may, force that. Who had Kentucky 8-1 and LSU 2-7 after 3 weeks of SEC play on their bingo card? You're still struggling to figure out who's who among the league. I think Kentucky's good. I mean, it's a good baseball team. They're confident. They play loose. They clearly are good at playing fundamentally sound baseball. They now have the long ball in their arsenal, even though we didn't know going into that series that they did. I think Kentucky's just well coached, and I mean they're good. State is a decent team. You don't know if Lamona survives, but they are competent. He will survive if they make the postseason. I believe that to be true. I think that he will survive if they make the postseason. Never thought you would agree with that comment, but it has been ridiculously worthless to me as a fan. And you expect State to crush Ole Miss. Yeah. The empty crowds in Swayze are going to look so great. Going Mr. Miyagi on that fly. I smoked that thing, man. Smoked that thing. Proud of that. We've said it before, but you'll ask it again. Can Ole Miss sustain success in the big three sports? Football and women's basketball are thriving, and men's basketball is trying to build. What will baseball do? They can. They can. Look at Tennessee. Look at Tennessee right now. Look at Alabama right now. And I know that those are schools with larger fan bases and generally speaking, more money, but they can do it. Alabama has had a run in football, and it's a little bit different with Nick Saban. So let's stick with Tennessee. I mean, they have a playoff contending football program right now. Look at their basketball team. And now Vitello's got baseball rolling. So it can be done. How many guys would I guess hit the portal after spring ball? People keep acting like teams across the country will have their rosters decimated during the next portal window, and I'm not buying it. No rosters are going to be decimated in the spring window, but teams are going to lose players. I mean, there are going to be guys at Ole Miss that are clearly not front runners for positions that will hit the portal to try to go somewhere to start. And Ole Miss is also actively recruiting players. I know they're not supposed to, but they are, and everybody else is too. At other schools that will come to Ole Miss in the spring window. It'll be pretty chaotic, but I'm not totally sure it'll be much different than what we saw last year. Maybe you'll see some more high-profile names, but last year was pretty insane. I know the spring window was more tame than the winter window, and they expect a more chaotic spring window, I guess, but I don't know, man. Once you've transferred to a place and you've gone through the spring and you're going to be a starter, I don't know. I don't know. The answer is I don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like until it happens. Just expect everything until rules are in place. At what point do I begin to pay attention to Major League Baseball? I will be tuning in early this season because the Orioles will certainly be expected to make a serious run towards the World Series. So I don't have a team. I'm not a Major League Baseball fan as a result. I will watch. I do check it out. I do watch baseball. But not near as much as you do, especially you being in Baltimore with the Orioles being as awesome as they are. But I'll put it on if I got nothing else going on. I go to more minor league games and watch major league games. And now we're losing our team after this year. So, yay. Corral had a hell of a game, even with a terrible offensive line. He's talented. He's truly talented. I don't understand pulling him when they did. I watched that game today. I mean, just so knee-jerk for a guy that's not as good as him, and it was clearly put on display. You got to give a quarterback more than 2 series to know if he's going to have a good day or not, but whatever. He ended up being the hero anyway. That's my thoughts on Purdue and Zach Edey. Personally cannot stand the officiating discrepancy they get every game. Edey shot double the free throws Tennessee did as a team. Yeah, part of it is Purdue really attacks the basket. Really attacks the basket. I mean, the volume of shots they take at the rim versus their opponents is pretty dramatically different. But yeah, he gets away with a lot. I wish Zion would get Edey's whistle, but he gets away with too much. He really does. He really gets away with too much. And it's frustrating to watch, frankly. And I know that there are people out there that are defending it, and I think that they could do a better job at giving him a more strict whistle. They are really good, though. Do other programs have the same frequency of injury to pitchers as Ole Miss? Pretty much. I mean, and JT Quinn's deal is not elbow related. It hurt his back warming up. So, but yeah, I mean, it's increasingly common. It happens everywhere. So you love watching DJ Burns play. Looks like Zach Randolph from the Grit and Grind Grizzlies. Yeah, they're awesome, man. He is. I listened to him on Pardon My Take, and he owns some vending machines that have, how do we say, a product that is not available in Mississippi in vending machines. That he diversified his portfolio, and he doesn't have to do anything with them at all. Like it's a pretty sick business if you just have the capital to invest. You really don't have to do anything other than buy the machines, and then a company services them for you. But yeah, um he owns some dispensary vending machines in the Charlotte metro area. He's a very interesting guy. So Edie is garbage and won't see any success beyond this year. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have a future in the NBA. He's not an NBA player. Didn't like what Edie had to say after the game today, neither to the reporter on the court or going after Rick Barnes in the post game. Didn't like it either. I understand it, chip on your shoulder or whatever. But anyway. Sorry, I missed a stream about Caleb Downs / Quinshon Judkins rumors. Any of it true? I do not expect. I could, it certainly could happen. I do not expect Quinshon Judkins to leave Ohio State to return to Ole Miss. Never say never in college football. It just appears that it's possible that he could want to. I mean, could regret his decision. Leaving Ole Miss to go to Ohio State was stupid with Travion Henderson being there, but I don't foresee him returning to Ole Miss. I do not. I've been wrong before. I don't foresee that happening, but never say never. Obviously, there will be a decent amount of guys that choose to enter, but there's not going to be a team whose rosters are decimated. I agree. I don't think it'll go down like that. That's true. You can't base an opposing team off of how they play against Ole Miss. Yeah, true. Maybe Kentucky didn't find the long ball. They just played Ole Miss this weekend. So, Brandon, it's already over. I lost. It will be me that will do the boat stream. I don't know when that will happen, because it's not, just about me being gone for 24 hours. I also have, I have a little one that has to be accounted for, and but yes, it's me, and I'm not backing out. I will do it. I'm very much looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, but um, just got to figure it all out. Would not blame Bianco for injuries, but not developing strike throwers is a problem. The next 2 week streams are going to be loads of fun, I'm sure. Yeah. We'll talk a lot of football probably the next couple of weeks, frankly. And maybe some off-topic stuff just to be fun. You find it kind of funny because Quinshon hasn't earned his red stripe yet. In fact, no, he actually recently did, like last week. Yeah. Like he just got it last week. So, will this be the best Ole Miss defensive line ever on paper and the field? Ever? I can only speak to what I've seen personally, but yes, or yes. Since I've been here, on paper, it is the most talented defensive line they've ever had. On paper. We'll see about the field, but on paper, it absolutely is. I love the depth of it, almost more than the frontline starters. I think that everybody's very excited about Uman Mielen and Walter Nolan and Pegues and Ivy returning, but I like the depth that they have developed there as well. I think that that's going to be what really helps them, is they're going to be able to play a bunch of guys. I don't think it's just those four. So, will there be a curtain rod on the boat? Richard sent me a picture of the Haydad was so scared of doing this that they were going to put him up on some like sick pontoon boat. And then Richard sends me a picture of this bad boy. And I said, if we were going to put Haydad on like a gigantic pontoon boat, my ass is not sitting on this thing for 24 hours. Absolutely not. That's where I will draw the line. If we were giving Haydad an apartment that floats, I'm getting a pontoon boat too for those 24 hours. You would give anything to host Ohio State in the playoff this year? Oh my God. Oh my God. That would be incredible. That would be incredible. So, anyway, I've got to run, guys. I appreciate you as always being here. Don't forget, like the video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the podcast, all that good stuff. We will be back on Tuesday night. We will be back on Thursday night. No stream on Sunday. I will not be live on Sunday. I'll be out of town. If anything, I could post a video on Sunday night just to keep the time going, but there will be no live on Sunday. I will not be here, but I will be back on Tuesday. So that's the week. Tuesday, 8 o'clock, Thursday, 8 o'clock, and then we'll be back on the next Tuesday. So I appreciate you guys very much. Please like the video, and I'll see you on Tuesday. Y'all have a good rest of your Sunday.